The podcast is now going.
Oh, great. I get to record with my two best friends on the worst day in recent memory.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
It's okay. Yeah. I feel fucking terrific.
Saluting.
And I get to see Roz after this. So there could be worse things. There could be no Roz.
As I said, mandatory fun immediately after this.
Mandatory fun. Mandatory fun.
You will receive mental health from this.
Exactly.
Mental health is approaching your location. Do not attempt to resist.
Approaching at high speed.
Extremely fucking high rate of velocity.
Yes. Hello, and welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
Hi, I'm November Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. You may have gotten a glimpse of me if we keep the video in of me being on webcam.
I don't think we need to do that.
Perfect, yeah, because I look like a terrible fucked witch scarecrow, and my pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam.
Yay, Liam. Don't know how I'm going to follow that up, but I'm sure going to try. I don't have a webcam for this exact reason. And people, when I guest on other podcasts, I was like, oh, you don't have a webcam, but like you guys are really successful. I'm like, yeah, and part of that is because you never see our faces.
Yeah, we're all self-conscious about the way that we look, and also
I don't like my body.
I don't. Yeah, have you ever considered transition about it? That way you can not like it in a different way.
And like in 4D, right? Like, body dysmorphia in smell-o-vision.
Wow.
The Spy Kids 3 of body dysmorphic disorder.
What you see on the screen in front of you, in extremely low resolution.
Yeah, beautiful.
This is horrible.
It's really hard to find pictures for this one, actually. I was surprised because I always remembered it as like a big deal. You see down here what vaguely looks like some train tracks going into a hole with smoke.
Yeah, does this count as like a stop signal for practical purposes?
I believe so, yes. I believe this is a situation you would not want to proceed further down the tracks.
Just gun it, not cheat, you know?
Fuck yeah!
We'll get to that later.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So, but that involved a high rail truck. But anyway, today we're going to talk once again about Baltimore, but this time an older transportation disaster than the one that's in recent memory, which is the Howard Street Tunnel Fire.
You know, for two guys who live in Philadelphia, we mind Baltimore a lot for content.
Shout out to Baltimore, the greatest city in Baltimore County.
Yes. What are you a bigger fan of White Marsh or something?
I say these things, I put them out into the world knowing that they're going to be provocative, you know?
You know the joke, right? Because Baltimore County doesn't include Baltimore.
Yes, I'm aware of that because I've seen the TV show The Wire.
I was making fun of Roz because he was like, "Do you prefer White Marsh?" And I thought he didn't know. And I was like, "No, man. I did once take a megabus from Philly to DC, which stopped at as a conductor or whatever you call a bus driver, the White Marsh Mall." And I was like, it's just my dad driving this.
All right, hold on, check this out. Shout out to Baltimore, home of the second best bird-named NFL team.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
sure enough,
right. Yeah. That's true.
That's the official endorsement of the city of Baltimore by Well, There's Your Problem podcast. Second best NFL bird team.
And you can go to Vaccaro's in Baltimore and then eat your weight in pastries. It's delicious.
Never been. I'd like to, but
I'll take you to Baltimore. We'll go to Vaccaro's and you'll
Baltimore's great.
Yeah, Baltimore
for loyalty reasons, I have to go to Philadelphia first. But of course.
But I do like the idea of like going on vacation from Britain to the United States, specifically to the beautiful city of Baltimore.
Yes,
Baltimore. Yeah.
Being like this is just like The Wire once every 10 minutes until someone shoots me,
Ooh,
and then
I
as
might
I
be
die,
the one to do
like,
it, Nova.
Yeah, and then as you like execute me, I'm like, damn, this is just like The Wire.
David Lynch, you're a genius! As my
Liam,
chest
you're like
cavity
a
is being
white
removed.
brother Muzone, and I just keel over, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
It was worth it
not
for all the
David
crab
Lynch. Who did the
cakes.
fucking wire?
Yeah, David Simon.
There we go.
David Lynch's The Wire is a
David Lynch's
very
The
different show.
Wire.
I would say not a worse one, right? Just a different one.
A very different show, yes.
I feel bad for
All
Dev
right.
because my levels are fucking blown out on that joke. Sorry, everybody.
It's fine. Everyone's still reeling from white brother Muzone, so
Yeah.
Get them while
Everyone
they're
has
down.
to stop apologizing
Feeling
today.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're all having a nice time. This is mandatory fun hour. Anyway,
That's right.
jarring shift of tone as we go into the goddamn news.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh yeah, there is some actual news happening, huh? Like even
There
as
is
we
actual
record
news,
this.
as we're recording, even yes.
If you listen to this show and are a Zionist Jew, my advice for you is just turn it off now. You're not gonna like this.
Yeah.
And I'll see you at Shul.
Yeah. So, there's a severe problem with anti-Semitism on America's university campuses.
Yeah, these
The
guys
fact
with
that-
Israeli flags are showing up and telling a bunch of like Jewish students that they're all members of Hamas.
Yeah,
Which,
the cops are like beating up Jewish Voice for Peace and stuff like that.
Those fucking
yeah.
hippies. I love them to death, but those fucking hippies.
Yeah, acts of anti-Semitism, like interrogating Jewish leftists as to why they don't have dual loyalty like they should do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this has been
I was talking to my mom about that.
several large campus protests ongoing right now. The big one that has been in the news is the one at Columbia University.
Mhm.
And the president came out and was just like, well, I think my first option, we should be subtle. We should just violently put this down using the police.
Always works.
Really just went not dick out, but that was the
0
first
to
thing
100.
that came to mind. Yeah, 0 to 100 is a better phrase
Yeah.
than dick out.
I mean, the thing about like violently repressing student protests is I don't want to say that it always makes the student protests more effective, especially
it
given
sure does.
the history of like student protest in the United States has been not very effective in general. Like it didn't stop the Vietnam War, it didn't stop the Gulf War, it didn't stop the war in Afghanistan, it didn't stop the second Gulf War. And it's probably not going to stop this, but
We're sure gonna try, baby.
you never know, and it's important to try. Is the main thing. I'm not
about
being
to say.
defeatist about this. I'm simply suggesting that we don't have a good grasp on what works, and like anyone who presumes to lecture you on what will, whether that's someone who like used to be in Students for a Democratic Society, or or whether that is like a university administrator, has no idea.
Yeah, and they're being real nasty to these students. They're doing
yeah.
stuff like they're just like saying, "Okay, you're suspended now. By the way, you have 15 minutes to collect your things before we lock you out of your dormitory."
Have you considered sucking me from the back?
Yeah. It's just all right. Well, if you show solidarity with the Palestinians, you're homeless now.
I mean, NYPD turned the LRAD, the noise deterrence device thing, on like a bunch of students praying. So that's the level we're at time of recording. Texas state troopers are going into UT Austin and like beating the shit out of people. And
People are like openly calling for another Kent State massacre at this point.
Oh, yeah. They want it so bad. Is the thing. Like the bloodlust is incredible.
It's
in some sections,
nauseating.
Right?
Is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah. And I mean, look, even if that, God forbid, like the worst comes to pass there, and there is some like serious act of like anti-protest violence like that, that also does not stop the protests, right? Is the thing. Like any more than Kent State stopped Vietnam War protests.
We're gonna levitate the Pentagon again, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but this time we're gonna
rotate it counterclockwise.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna rotate it and we're gonna lay it out so it's longer than the line.
Yeah, unravel the Pentagon.
Yeah. This is our demand, right? Well, we have two demands, right? Stop the genocide, unfold the Pentagon.
Let us see the Eternals. Take us to the Pentagon Burger King. These are our demands.
Are most moderate. Unfold the Pentagon. end the genocide and tell me what the fourth section of the sculpture in the CIA statue garden
Kryptos,
says.
yeah.
You can just go in the Pentagon. Like, you can take a tour.
I mean, it's not going to help with
what's the fun of
levitating
that?
it,
But
is
yeah,
it?
Roz,
Yeah,
we're trying to levitate it. The tour's not. I mean, maybe we could get inside and we'll try to do it in segments, but
He's just levitating a portion of the Pentagon.
Area
Like, just-
podcasters now most banned people from Pentagon.
Just one section of the C ring just levitates up.
Just
6
like
feet.
us and
whatever, like
Zacharias
defense,
Moussaoui
like,
just like sitting there sadly in our cells.
just like whatever like defense force protection agency there is being like, well, we don't know if they can levitate the Pentagon, but why take the chance? Like,
we're gonna find out. We're all gonna find out together, dickheads.
If you only levitated one section of the Pentagon, you would probably do more damage to the building than 9/11 did.
that's probably true. Yeah.
Well, that's whatever, man. I'm gonna shut down the military industrial complex simply by being really fucking annoying.
I mean, so the way in which the like university administrations have responded to these has obviously been like extremely panicked, both by sending in the cops and also Columbia just like boarded off their business school.
Yeah.
Good. They should keep it that way.
They
exactly.
built like a Northern Ireland style peace wall around their business school to keep Shay Davidite in there or out of there. I'm not entirely clear.
This is Robert E. Lee's fault.
Well, yeah, isn't everything. If you're not familiar with this guy, he's like a business professor nominally who spends most of his time like screaming at students on YouTube.
Shouldn't he be teaching?
Well, I mean, listen,
Ross, do you know a single professor that can teach?
It's business school as well. What's he gonna teach?
I know.
Profit is like
line go up, Mr. Bond. Yeah.
Look, I know one professor who can teach, but Dr. Mark Brack is retired. So
yeah,
they retired the one teacher.
They found one professor who's good at teaching, and he's retired now. Don't go to university.
Anyway, as ever, I would say the kids are all right. Like, their hearts are in the right places. They're doing the right thing, the good thing by protesting, and at considerable personal risk, And I don't want to just be like, oh, the thing that matters about this is what people in the West are doing, right? Because like, if you want to talk about universities, the Israelis have killed like thousands of university students and killed like sort of most prominent academics in Gaza. Every university in Gaza is destroyed at this point, and they've been destroyed like gleefully on video by people who filmed themselves doing it on purpose, which by the way is one of like, add it to the list of war crimes, right?
It's like they opened up the SimCity disaster menu and just targeted every hospital,
Yeah. I will say, as someone who believes where my most lib opinion is that academia good, actually.
Yeah, of course.
I will say what you said. The kids are all right. It is heartening to see like teenagers get real fucking mad at this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a coworker, a related note, who is Iranian. She emigrated from Iran to the States. Her daughter's visa to the University of Michigan is being held up in part because of this bullshit nonsense. Oof. Because if you want to get out of Iran and come to the United States where you would be an asset to academia, you can't do that because we're mad at Iran now. Make that make sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, it's life-saving cancer research, but who gives a shit? We're going to bomb Tehran.
I don't want to facilitate a brain drain. I don't want to do any of those kind of strategic things.
That's good. Like, it just what we should do. That's why China has better 5G than we fucking do, is because we just didn't renew the guy's visa. And that's why I support open borders, because I should never have lag.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
Open borders, not because of human dignity, but because I want my games to be fast.
Every border implies not just the violence of its maintenance, but the worse 5G of a gamer on the other side of it.
It's right.
It's okay. Elon is going to fix it with Starlink.
Of all the things, right? Of all the things that he does, Starlink. That is the one that they should take away from him by force first.
Yeah.
Like,
nationalize
not to be
now.
like full, like, NAFO dog man, right? But like the shit that he did in Ukraine, where he's like, just like, oh, so
Turning
like
it
he
off,
spoke
yeah.
to a Russian guy and is like, okay, cool, well, get war's over, I guess, because he's like the dumbest, most easily led Nazi cunt on the internet, and it's just like, yeah, fuck it, okay, these guys don't need internet because I'm scared they're gonna start World War III or whatever. A man who believes in Rocco's basilisk, they should take him out the back and they should fucking him.
Leave it. Leave that in.
Rocco's,
Listen,
Rocco's modern basilisk.
I don't support everything that the Ukrainian government has ever done or is there, but I do think they should be allowed to execute Elon Musk. Right?
Yeah,
Only
that would
them, though,
actually be
right?
pretty
Like,
good. Yeah.
You,
Well,
you
I
got to
think
give them that. You got to give them two things, right? You got to give them like they are the victim of an unjust invasion, which they are entitled to resist by like the sort of means available to them in the same way that Palestinians are, and you got to give them the ability to execute Elon Musk.
Yeah, no, I'll buy that. But I wanted to talk about my idea, which is Starfish Link, in which I just send 900,000 pictures of my butthole to Elon Musk, overwhelming him so much he walks into the fucking sea.
Yeah, reasonable.
Yep.
Fucking,
might
he's a
work.
fucking Nazi. And you know what? Dev, you'll have to bleep this, but I look forward to the day that Elon Musk sees picture 9,000 of my butthole and hopefully fucking self. I hope. I don't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or my butt. You know that movie, The Ring. Except the ring is my butthole, and Elon Musk killed himself. I don't have a joke here. I just really hate the guy.
The other thing about the campus protests, I think, is hauling it back to something vaguely like a topic, right? Is that like
Sure.
if like administrators had been at all smarter about this, like it would still have been evil, but they could have like sort of avoided these problems for themselves, right? But because the system is what it is, right? Like you have to prove all of the people who say that, like, you know, the violence in Gaza and like police violence in the US is part of the sort of same overall structure by immediately sort of like sending in the cops and like talking about sending in the National Guard and stuff. Whereas if you had done nothing, if you had done absolutely nothing and just like sat on your ass, collected your immense sort of like administrative salary for your hedge fund disguised as a university and just gone, this will fizzle out because they'll get bored. And you know it'll get smaller and it'll be like there'll be like a small little protest camp that like one of our business professors can be insane about, and eventually the people who aren't Palestinian will get bored and peel off. That might have even been true, but like by sending in like state troopers and the NYPD, or by sending in like the National Guard, God forbid, all you're doing is like galvanizing this stuff. But they can't do otherwise because that's what the system is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they probably have inspired like 50 other protests that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see even like the most politically inactive campus I've ever been on, Drexel University, having a protest soon. I mean,
yeah, I mean, if you're a student listening to this, you should go to one. You should organize one if there isn't one. Like, this is a good thing for you to do.
yes.
And I think also I appreciate how all of the attempts to like bait and provoke and to lie on the part of the opposition have not worked. Did you see that one video of the guy who like took his wife to the protests at Columbia wearing a shirt on which he had like handwritten
good
Jew
Lord.
front and back?
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
that was just embarrassing.
Like, my wife like bravely confronted these anti-Semitic protesters, and not only did no one either notice or confront her, but behind her there was a giant banner saying like "Jews for a Free Palestine," and none of those people noticed her either.
They're just like you know, like a big circle around her, just like, you're fucking moron.
Yeah, like that's
No
the
one's
level of
engaging with
regard
this.
it like deserves, you know. And I'm proud of all of these kids, not just for protesting, but also for like sort of remaining above that kind of thing and like being organized and being
making
smart
it
about
not
this.
just engagement bait, right?
Yes, yeah.
I hear you.
Because like when I was like 19, 20, I was a fucking idiot, is the thing.
Oh, me too. So was he.
And if you would
absolutely,
have asked, if you would have asked me to like, can you organize a protest that in a way that has like a designated media person, so when a guy from the Atlantic comes looking for like quotes to make us look bad, we refer
I was going to
them
mention
to
that.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have been that
No
smart or
way.
that disciplined, you know. And these kids
No, I
are.
would have just started yelling probably like pro Hamas slogans, something
Yeah,
like that.
you
Yeah,
would've.
you would have endorsed Hezbollah. I
Yeah,
would have
exactly.
said that like Ukraine should get the right to execute Elon Musk.
Yeah.
What is our
No,
one
we didn't know
demand? And it's
that's-
a weird list of them.
And that's fine for a podcast, I think, but like it's probably not okay for like these kids to be saying, and they're smart to like be sort of canny and
Well
disciplined.
done
with
on
their
not
messaging.
taking the bait.
Yes,
Yeah. No one's showing up with like the Hamas red arrow on a T-shirt.
Just a big like Hamas red arrow on a stick. You can like
Oh my
hold
God,
over,
that
hold
would be
over
really
the
funny
doing MIT style pranks where you like climb the campus in the middle of the night and you put a big red arrow over it. Okay, that is pretty
Please
funny.
no, do not do this.
Don't
Do
do
not-
this,
do not-
but it
just
would
do
be
not
fun.
do this.
That's the sum total of my like protesting advice life experience is this idea that I have is funny. Never do it.
Don't do
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. Don't. No.
Okay,
You're gonna
before we get any other big ideas, let's go to the next news item.
Yeah, so this is a fun little story. I don't know if you saw this, but today, time of recording, a couple of the household cavalry, like army horses, just
get you like busted loose.
yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
like what was going on. They didn't like what was transpiring, and they decided to quit the army in
there you go.
a
No
way
one
that
can
you're not
blame
really
them.
supposed to do. Yeah, they deserted. And so like 5 horses just like unseated their riders at Buckingham Palace and just went loose through central London. One of them
The horses are organizing shit.
Yeah.
Horse union now.
my 32F horses 4M 5M 4M have organized against me. I mean it's not good to get thrown off a horse. As you see here, the like white one is covered in blood, which I don't know if that's horse blood or like cavalryman blood. But either way,
I was
not
going
great.
to ask about that.
Horses said unified Ireland now.
Yeah, I mean,
if horses knew what a unified Ireland was, they would support it.
Unfortunately, horses are the dumbest animals on God's green earth.
Yeah, which makes them unionists.
Can you imagine if there were like more horses on the road though? Like there were like if you were still using horses and carts and the
You could
horse
just
union
say,
formed.
what if everything were West Philadelphia at like 10 p.m.?
When you learn to drive in this country, they do include on the list of hazards like horses. I'm hitting the big fucking hazard perception test button on this. Like this is a hazard.
I have seen one of the West Philly Cowboys lose control of a horse on my street. It was very funny.
The thing is, losing control of a horse is it's like it has the high level of like risk of physical injury, death, disability, but also high slapstick comedy value. Like I don't know if you remember during like I think it was some of the Brexit protests maybe, but like there was like a Met Police like mounted like riot cop who lost control of the horse and went full tilt into a sign in a way that she just got like perfectly wily coyoted off of the horse. And you're like, that's gotta really fucking hurt. It's also really funny to watch. I'm gonna watch this like 5 or 6 more times. Like, by the same token,
if you run a red light on a horse, do you get the ticket or does the horse?
I mean, would you like to try and ticket that horse? It's covered in blood and it's mad. Like,
yeah, but what if like the rider is still on there and he's lost control and it's like, well, it's not his fault.
You sort of approach the horse and like slap a ticket onto the horse and it kicks you in the head, killing you instantly.
No. The guy who named Kicking Horse Pass survived.
I like that you know that. That makes me really happy.
One thing I will say is, you know who the real winners are in this situation?
Not horses.
Is street photographers. Right, because imagine, like, obviously this looks very creepy. It looks very like portentous and ominous. But like, if you're a street photographer, you're just walking down the street in central London, all of a sudden you are presented with this.
Yes.
Like, something's going pretty well for you. Like, I'm walking around with the camera a lot, and I'm often thinking, like, oh,
I wish there would be 2 runaway horses.
I wish there was some horse chaos occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. And there so seldom is, you know. But someone was there on the scene, and I'm so glad they were, because the pictures of it, like, this is a pretty low resolution version because it's just like pulled off the internet, but like they're genuinely like really like compellingly shot. So yeah, they
For
did get
more,
all the
see our
horses.
photography bonus.
Yeah, oh, please do. It's one of my favorite we've done. But like they've recovered all the horses. All of the horses are like now back in the army.
Oh, there's
Sucks.
Ah, boo!
I think they should have just let them like run free and be like a sort of feature of central London for a
That
while.
would be fun.
Yeah, there's just some horses that hang out,
Watch out for the wild horses,
Yeah.
Sort of dodging lime bikes and like delivery drivers and stuff.
They would get hit by like a truck instantly.
Yeah, it's true. And as you see in the background there, we do let like a lot of HGVs just use
Yeah.
like main roads in central London. So
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the solution is, instead of like pedestrianization, we love pedestrianization.
Horsesization?
Equestrianization.
That's the word.
There we go. Yeah.
We
all right, I'll just go fuck myself.
I think I'm not sure where this might be the Strand. We just equestrianize that, and we just have like a big like hippodrome there.
That does slap. I do like that.
You're gonna regret this when you realize about dealing with the poop.
I mean, listen, London streets are not that clean to begin with.
Yeah,
and
also,
in
we live
many
in
ways,
Philly,
it's
dude.
like in many ways it's like Return with a V, right? Because like all the streets of
this
London
is what
used to
you
be
wanted to
covered
right
in horse shit, and so we're just
Yes.
going back. Also, maybe we could train them to use like big litter trays or something. I don't know.
You're gonna have to have a municipal pooper scooper service.
It creates jobs. It's Keynesianism. Like you got to have the guy who like equestrianizes the road, the guy who does the like road markings, the guy who like picks up after the horses. It's perfect. That's 3 good union jobs paying a living wage right there. Equestrianize Britain.
All right. Yeah, we got to go back to horses. We got to have more horses so we can strengthen the horse union.
Horse good, car bad.
Yes.
I'll buy that. Why not?
We just can't have atmospheric railways.
No.
No.
That one Irish guy is gonna shit his pants, and then and that's what the municipal pooper scooper is for.
Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely. Cleans up after horses and one terrified Irish man.
Yes. Well, speaking of horses, that was the goddamn news. We do have to talk about horses a bit.
My eyes sort of unfocused looking at this dread map, and I briefly pictured it as a kind of like battle map. It kind of looks that way.
It kind of is. Battle between the Pennsylvania Railroad and the Baltimore and Ohio in Baltimore.
The Pennsylvania Railroad like draws up its troops at Mount Vernon,
yes.
Used to Civil War maps.
No, well, that's still probably what the Pensu would do. So
there is some Civil War relevance here. So Baltimore has historically been the terminus for a number of important East Coast railroads. I mean, the B&O, which is in blue, the Pennsylvania Railroad's in red here. Over here in brown, we have the Western Maryland Railroad,
which it deserves.
You have the Ma and Pa, the Maryland and Pennsylvania up here in orange. And then there's a number of things going on here. But in sort of the early whatchamacallit, in the early 1800s, in the mid 1800s, this was the terminus of the B&O main line, which is
the B in B&O.
Yeah, the B&O. This is the Baltimore, Ohio. This is where the B&O Railroad Museum is now. That's mile 0, the B&O. And then it was the terminus of the Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore Railroad over here at the President Street Station, which somehow still exists. And if you were going south from New York, Philadelphia, points north, you came down the PW&B, and you went down to the President Street Station, and then your train car was unhitched from the locomotive and hitched to horses, and they pulled you down Pratt Street until you could get to the B&O station.
This is what we like, you know?
And
train,
then they put you,
and then intermodal horse.
Yeah.
Intermodal horse, yes. But every train on the East Coast had to do this.
Wow.
Intermodal intra-urban horse.
Exactly. So you had like horses pulling freight cars and all this crap. It's very annoying. It was very slow. It almost got President Lincoln assassinated.
Run that one by me again.
So when President Lincoln was, I forget exactly
I got some
why.
bad news about President Lincoln.
No,
first
no,
of
he
all.
did.
Roz.
He did get assassinated later, but this would have been before most of the Civil War happened.
Yeah, you kind of
Um,
needed him alive for that.
Yeah, because he took a train from, I want to say, New York to Washington D.C., and of course, Baltimore was a big Confederate city.
Yes.
And they had to pull his presidential train car through downtown Baltimore, and they just did it at like 2:00 in the morning, so no one was awake.
So like the reputation of Baltimore in the 19th century is like racist but very sleepy about it.
Yes, they're too sleepy to be racist.
You gotta get
at
your 8
that time
hours
of day.
in order to
Yeah.
like hate minorities.
The other big railroad that terminated here was the Baltimore Potomac up here, which was the Pennsylvania controlled line to Washington D.C. Now, after the Civil War, the trains started getting bigger. The situation with hauling all the trains down Pratt Street became untenable. So the Pennsylvania Railroad does two things. Number one, it solidifies its control over the PW&B going northward, and then they build the Union tunnels here and the B&P tunnels over here. And then all of a sudden, they have their own nice Pennsylvania station up here that they can use, and they don't have to use any of that street trackage. And so around 1873, this was all finished, right? All their traffic is no longer on city streets except for their very, like the local freight deliveries, which still ran until like 1980 or something.
God damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the Baltimore and Ohio has a more complicated problem, though, because they have their original terminus in Mount Clair, and then there's no clear way forward from there, right?
They're kind of boxed in.
They're boxed in, yeah. In 1884, the Philadelphia, Wilmington, Baltimore was finally completely acquired by the Pennsylvania Railroad, and the Pennsylvania Railroad decided to kick the B&O trains off of it entirely. So they no longer have access to this up there. They're like, no, fuck you, right?
I love railroad wars.
Yeah. So the B&O is like, all right, we'll build our own line to Philadelphia with blackjack and hookers. And that's the Philadelphia branch up here, or the Philadelphia subdivision.
1870s, quite possibly. Like,
yeah. So, and there's still a problem here, though, which is how do you link the two halves of the railroad together? Initially, this was done by a car float over here. I think there was also some other route. This map is from trains.com, by the way, and it shows the situation in about 1949. So this is not exactly what it looked like. Here's a little bit of an older engraving of the original situation where the trains came off of the Camden station. They went onto Pratt Street. They went around the Inner Harbor and they went into President Street.
I know it's also Gay Street. Hell yeah, representation. We've always been here, etc., etc.
There's a Gay Street dock even.
I'd love to dock at Gay Street.
Mm-hmm. So you couldn't bridge the harbor for reasons we mentioned in the previous episodes, and regions that were
you've run a ship into it, you know.
Yeah, pretty well demonstrated a few weeks ago. No one wanted to try tunneling under the harbor. There was only one way to go: build a tunnel directly underneath downtown Baltimore.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
So they do this.
Can we get some like Minecraft footage or possibly Dwarf Fortress footage over this?
Oh yeah, that would make sense. That would be a good one. So the Baltimore, Ohio's Camden station is down here next to Oriole Park at Camden Yards.
I hate how things are at things now.
They're at things. Well, this is one of the first things to be at a thing, because that's a relatively old ballpark at this point.
They invented the preposition for this.
It is a good ballpark though. Camden Yards
It is a
slaps.
good ballpark. Yeah, I enjoy going to Camden Yards.
What makes a good ballpark as opposed to a bad ballpark?
Sight lines, relatively cheap drinks,
Is it
just a
not,
good
like,
atmosphere.
It's the first.
Standardized?
It's the
No,
first.
not in
Oh
baseball.
no, not in
Not in
baseball. No.
That's the cool thing
Or-
about like all the different parks have weird, different little like idiosyncrasies and stuff like that.
the
Is it
new ones,
allowed?
the newer ones
Yeah,
seem to be
that's
like
allowed and encouraged.
yeah,
Huh.
the newer ones seem to be sort of whatchamacallit, sort of zooming in on like a standardized
How-
baseball field design.
How
But
weird can I get with it? Like, if I'm designing
Very.
a base, can I be like, yeah, the field's at like a 45-degree angle? Like,
I don't know that you could do that, but there's stuff like
no, that would be that's just whatchamacallit, the one in Philly, the Baker Bowl. The Baker Bowl was like
you're
that.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
You
one
do-
in Nashville. There's one in Nashville that had a hill.
Yes, like a real actual hill.
Yeah.
We did a bonus of, if anyone's interested in this, we did a bonus of 10,000 losses with rods, where we talk
Talking
about
about-
like these designs that I've always found pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I baseball would be better if it was worse.
Yeah, sports are better when they're worse.
Yeah. So actually, though, Camden Yards is nice. It's one of the first. It was the first modern retro ballpark. It has the concessions are nice and convenient. You know, the sight lines are good, so on and so forth. Shout out to Camden Yards.
Friend of
Also,
the
the
show.
train station's right there.
Hmm.
So the Howard Street Tunnel went from the Camden station up Howard Street to a new station at Mount Royal, which is still there, but it doesn't see trains anymore.
Long ass tunnel, but I mean, you can tunnel under a city and put trains in it, like many cities have.
Oh yeah, no problem. This is 1895 though, so there are some issues.
One city has done this at
Yeah.
this point.
Exactly.
Two more cities are shortly to follow, but
So it has a relatively steep grade. It handles full-size mainline trains, so steam engines would have to work very hard to pull heavy trains through the tunnel. If you're doing heavy work with these steam trains, that means a lot of smoke, and in a tunnel, that's a bad situation.
you end up with the same thing of the early London Underground, of what happens if you get to the station and you have suffocated all your passengers.
Yeah, not good, not good. You want to avoid that. So the B&O turns to a new technology, electrification.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting edge. Still can't do it on a lot of places today, it seems.
Yeah, it's
This looks
lost
so
technology.
This looks so fucking
Yeah, it's
sick.
stayed cutting edge. Yeah. So,
This
you
is
know,
scientific Americana.
yes. So the very first mainline electrification system in the United States was installed in the Howard Street Tunnel to haul trains through the tunnel and through several tunnels that followed it. These electric locomotives are attached at the Camden station and were either detached when a passenger train made a stop at the Mount Royal station, or the freight trains, they would actually just keep going up the line and they would uncouple them on the fly and put them in a siding, and the freight train would continue on towards Philadelphia.
Like how enthused everyone in this looks. Like the engineer sticking his head out of the cab, the guy like in the tunnel waving to him. It's just like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is the future.
Everyone's like, yeah, this is fucking great. We're doing the future
when
here.
things could happen. Yeah.
Pretty soon we're going to electrify all trains.
Oh, you hold on to that thought, buddy.
Yeah. So this was done with a 675 volt DC third rail system, which was initially on the ceiling. You notice this very strange pantograph here. The idea was to give more clearance. The two third rails would be next to each other on the ceiling, and then the pantograph would just sort of ride in a slot on the rails and be offset.
I prefer this to like a third rail on the line in that it feels less likely to kill me for looking at it wrong.
Oh, yes, but it didn't work very well, so they eventually put third rail on the ground.
Haven't there been some places where they tried to do like third rail like along the side of the tunnel?
There's like some like really weird one-off like proprietary systems that do something like that. Especially if you have something like something that's like cable hauled, you know, and does not have electricity on board as a result. You have a third rail that's entirely for like lighting and heat and air conditioning.
I think this is the way Glasgow did it for a while, but
That would make sense. Yeah. Eventually, they actually installed something called a gauntlet track down here, which is essentially a track in the middle that was offset to give higher vertical clearance. But if you were using that track, you couldn't use the other two tracks. And they actually had the third rail on like swiveling mounts, so it could be just slid into position, rotated into position. It's very strange.
Do not just be standing in this tunnel waving when there is a 675 volt DC line that is moving around like a kind of mobile platformer game.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a good situation. I would avoid that. But yeah, the way you would handle this is the steam train comes into Camden, you shut off steam, you close you close up the cylinders, you do all the stuff, and the electric locomotive pulls you through. So you're not creating a significant amount of smoke while you're in the tunnel, and no one suffocates. It's a good system. And it was very, very successful, and thus it was not extended or replicated.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. The B&O Philadelphia subdivision was never very busy because the Pennsylvania Railroad just had better connections and went more places in the Northeast. Traffic to New York and the B&O, for instance, if you were sending a car from Baltimore to New York City via the Baltimore and Ohio, you would have to be interchanged onto both the Reading Railroad at Philadelphia and then the Central Railroad in New Jersey and Trenton. It's adding a lot more time. So, this huge tunnel was used by as few as like 6 trains a day, right?
Perfect. Yeah, beautiful.
That's American rail infrastructure. There you go.
Yeah, it's really cutting edge to solve a problem that shouldn't really exist.
Yeah, competition is great. All right, let's fast forward a bit. Dieselization happens, so the third rail is ripped up in 1952. Right, here's one of the B&O's passenger trains at Harper's Ferry.
You get these very beautiful trains that are also killing the planet.
Yeah,
a lot of
the Baltimore and Ohio becomes the Chessie system in 1976.
Oh, with the cat. Fantastic.
Yes. The cat, yeah.
Yes.
They discontinue passenger trains altogether in 1958. Chessie system becomes CSX in 1986.
Boring corporate.
Yeah,
bring back the cat.
Got to bring back the cat. Yeah,
bring back the cat.
Oh, you should see their heritage units. They suck.
Yeah, they're awful. They're awful.
They do have a Chessie heritage unit, and it looks awful. In 1987, the Chase, Maryland accident happens, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the future. The entire Northeast Freight Railroad system is restructured as a result of this. Nearly all freight traffic on the Amtrak Northeast Corridor was rerouted onto the old B&O Philadelphia subdivision. And as a result, the Howard Street Tunnel becomes one of the busiest tunnels in the country, with 28 to 32 large freight trains passing through it every day.
I mean, finally a use for this thing. Like, you have it like under the city. It's like not going anywhere. It's quite well built. Like,
and also
it's and hazmat right through the center of the city, which I assume will be fine.
It's in a tunnel. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
The ground. Listen, if there's one thing I want between me and the hazmat, it's ground.
Ground's pretty good.
Yep. All right.
Actually, I'd probably go like ocean before ground, but like ground also.
That's where I put my car batteries.
Yeah, exactly. The hazardous waste belongs in the ocean.
I hate seals.
Universal solvent, really good like diluter, insulator, insulator? No, it's not. But like, throw it in the ocean. It's fine. It's a safe and legal throw.
Dilution is the solution to pollution.
That's right.
We'll see a few more shots of this building here. This is the train shed for the Mount Royal Tunnel, or the Mount Royal station, which you can actually go down there and watch trains there. It's really nice. I've been down there a couple times. Now with all this extra traffic, it was also reduced to a single track for higher clearances.
Okay, sure. I mean, it helps you not run a hazmat train into another hazmat train.
We haven't had that problem yet.
If the next slide is about a fucking chemical,
well, every train goes through this tunnel, including, of course, dangerous hazmat trains. which may be carrying chemicals such as tripropylene.
Motherfucker!
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I like that the slide says, I have no idea what this is or what it does.
Well,
That
I
is
mean, the
true.
only
I have.
answer
I
is Google.
don't know. No, Google wasn't very helpful either.
It's a clear, colorless liquid with a sharp odor. I mean,
That's a lot of things.
yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah,
is
this
vodka. Like, I don't know.
it's some kind of hydrocarbon. It's got 9 C's. It's got 18 H's. There's a double bond in here, I guess. I have no fucking clue. People get it delivered by the tank car load, such as these big 28,600 gallon tank cars. The only information I found is it's used to make other chemicals and as a
useful.
lubricating oil additive. Yeah.
This is like so much of the chemical industry is just this stuff, right? Like,
listeners, I did try to find out what this was.
Yeah, I believe it, yeah.
yeah.
The hogs have Google. The hogs have Google.
The safety data sheet for tripropylene glycol.
I probably should have just put that up here. Yeah. But yeah, it's flammable. That's another thing you should know because it's a hydrocarbon. I mean, they're all flammable. So anyway, on July 18th,
either. Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Something's going to go well because there's a CSX trade here.
Yeah. Exactly. So, they've been doing a lot better than Norfolk Southern recently. I will say that.
Yeah, I know, but Rods, let me ask you a question, buddy.
Yeah.
In a world where you have to pick between me pissing on your face and shitting in your mouth, which would you rather have? Is it neither?
Is this also your argument for voting for Biden?
It is not.
No,
I wrote in Roz.
Hell yeah. Uncommitted, right in uncommitted.
Yeah,
I wrote in uncommitted yesterday. Yeah. I was really frustrated. I had to go vote, even though that's partially because
the ballot question was important, I thought, but
yeah, the ballot question, I could see arguments for both sides. I voted no.
I also voted no. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna.
What is this? Let me Monday morning quarterback your vote.
It's about the indemnification of registered community organizations in an event where they are sued in connection with a zoning board of adjustment decision.
Well, that's how they got Acorn, right? So, of course not.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I just think voting no means they're not going to be able to NIMBY as easily. Yeah. But who knows?
I have no idea.
It's a city ballot question. People always vote yes on those. So whatever.
Yeah, I was a little frustrated that I had to go to it all, but friend of the show Matt wrote me in for president, which I thought was very funny.
Hell yeah! We never get any questions, any referenda apart from.
I was gonna Brexit.
Yeah, we can't be trusted with them. Clearly, I don't know. I'd like the opportunity to do those kind of bullshit policy questions. I think it'd be fun.
The other thing is my next door neighbors are effective organizers because if I don't go to vote, they know and they yell at me.
They do.
This is the way that you organize people, right? Is you find out what they're not doing and you shame
works.
Them
Exactly.
Do not ask me about what I am not doing and do not shame me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they run the polls, so I have to. If they don't see me, they know. Yeah. Hi, it's Justin. So this is a commercial for the podcast that you're already listening to. People are annoyed by these, so let me get to the point. We have this thing called Patreon, right? The deal is you give us $2 a month, and we give you an extra episode once a month. Sometimes it's a little inconsistent, but it's $2. You get what you pay for. It also gets you our full back catalog of bonus episodes, so you can learn about exciting topics like guns, pickup trucks, or pickup trucks with guns on them. The money we raise through Patreon goes to making sure that the only ad you hear on this podcast is this one. Anyway, that's something to consider if you have $2 to spare each month. Join at patreon.com/WTYP pod. Do it if you want. or don't. It's your decision, and we respect that. Back to the show. All right, so July 18th, 2001.
It's a beautiful pre 9/11 morning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no one knows what's going to hit them. Just before 3 p.m., CSX train L412-16 left the West Baltimore yard, which I believe is now disused, bound for Philadelphia with 31 loaded and 29 empty cars, including 8 hazmat tank cars. That's a 60-car train, which today would be a very short one.
The sheer length of like American freight trains is always cool to me. Like,
oh yeah, now it's like everything's 250 cars. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, so the train was traveling around 25 miles an hour. And as you enter the tunnel, you're going through a short downgrade, right? So you're easing up on the throttle. You're around notch 5. Then as you go through the lowest part of the tunnel, you start to have a steep upgrade. So at that point, you start to notch up to notch 8, which is the highest throttle setting on a diesel locomotive. So the engineer is trying to take up the slack, keep the train stretched through this entire situation, so you're not having weird in-train forces. And he gets about 1,800 feet from the north portal, and the train dumps the air. It goes into emergency.
Oh.
Something had happened on the train to break the air hose, so the emergency brakes come on automatically.
And that's good, right? That's what we want.
Well, it's better than it not happening.
Yeah.
Like,
potentially. Actually,
I don't like the "it depends" answer here.
It's one of the reasons.
Have a runaway train.
Yeah. Sometimes the emergency brake going on is extremely bad. Sometimes it causes the derailment it's supposed to prevent.
Cool. So the airbags of trains.
Yes, exactly. It's better than not having it, but it can still cause problems. So the crew is unable to radio dispatch to make anyone aware of the situation. Hey, we're stuck in the tunnel, because they're in the tunnel. And apparently the radio just doesn't work.
Yeah. One of the things is about the ground is that aside from being good at like protecting you from hazmat, it's also very good at protecting you from radio signals.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, the conductor used his personal cell phone, which is today a really big no-no, to call dispatch and tell them they had a problem in the tunnel.
Why is this like now like frowned upon? Aside from
it's like oh god, I forget which accident. Someone was looking at their phone and crashed a train.
Was that Frankfurt derailment, or was that the allegation? That was the allegation, right?
That was an allegation there, but it was not the case.
Right. My bad.
It was. It might have been the one where Union Pacific slammed it. It slammed into Metrolink. I don't remember. I'm not 100% certain on that one.
So just because like you can't be looking at your phone.
Yeah, you're not supposed to look at your phone.
Yeah, because you'll cause a.
Even when the train is like stopped and you like can't use the radio, like
yeah, they're a lot more psychotic about it now.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, a lot of times it's like it needs to be turned off and stored in your bag unless there's like really extenuating circumstances.
Seems pretty extenuating to me,
Yeah, in this case, okay, we got to call dispatch somehow. They told them they had a problem in the tunnel, and eventually they wind up saying, "All right, we're sitting here. The fumes are getting pretty bad. We're going to move the locomotives out of the tunnel."
Diesel train still in an unventilated tunnel.
Yes.
Didn't even occur to me at any point during this that they started running diesel trains through this. Yeah.
Right. Good things are happening to your lungs, Nova.
Yeah.
Good things.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe deep, baby.
So the engineer and conductor have moved the 2 locomotives out of the tunnel, but the whole train is still in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it takes a while to figure out exactly what's going on here. But eventually, after a lot of back and forth between the dispatchers, the crew, the Baltimore Fire Department, when smoke started to come out of the tunnel portal, so on and so forth, they managed to figure out, oh, we had a problem. Something's on fire back there. Right, and no one can figure out exactly where it is.
Just in the tunnel that runs the whole length of downtown Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly. There is a serious fire somewhere in that tunnel, and we don't know where it is or what happened.
Action movie
Yeah.
setup, you know?
Yeah.
So what had in fact happened in there was that several cars full of timber and paper products had derailed, as well as one car, SRIX 300,015, which is, what is it? Car number 52 here.
53.
Right here. Car number 53?
Yeah, it says on the notes 53.
Yeah, but the note is wrong is the thing.
I see.
Attaboy.
Yeah. So this car had derailed in such a way that it pretty much eviscerated itself. It derailed. It like, leapt off of the wheels and then crashed, and it's real bad. So it was pretty heavily damaged, and it was of course full of that wonderful chemical tripropylene. So it caught fire.
Anything to be done with the design of the tank car that could have mitigated this?
We'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
Same question.
But yeah, so it just sort of it has a bad time. It breaks open. It catches fire. And it wasn't until 4 p.m. CSX dispatch determined there was a serious problem, and they called the Baltimore City Fire Department. The fire department showed up at the Mount Royal station at the north end of the tunnel about 4:10, and they couldn't get into the tunnel because of all the fire and the smoke. In the meantime, the Baltimore City Fire Department had another call to make. Oh, God, how bad is it? Do we have to evacuate the city?
Yeah, I mean, because this thing runs under the whole thing, right?
Exactly.
And it's hazmat. You could be, giving everyone in Baltimore, every cancer.
Yes.
That they don't already have from living, yeah.
So they decided not to evacuate the city, but to tell people to shelter in place along the route. They did, however, evacuate Camden Yards Stadium in the middle of a doubleheader.
Incredible.
Yeah, and someone finally got to use the emergency broadcast system for something other than a test.
It feels good as hell when it's not the nuke or whatever.
Right, where you're just like, I get to break this bad boy out. Yeah,
exactly. So confusion reigned in Baltimore City as Howard Street was completely blocked with no alternate routes right at close of business for most commuters. The light rail system was shut down because it goes straight up and down Howard Street. Residents of the city were told to stay indoors and shelter in place, turn off your air conditioning so you don't breathe any horrible fumes.
Close all your windows.
Yeah. At 5:45.
This sounds like a pretty amateur hour disaster response, or am I reading that wrong?
I mean, that's still standard around all kinds of
sure.
At 5:45, they sounded the civil defense sirens.
Nice.
And no one knew they still had them or what they were supposed to do if they heard them.
Just for vibes. And the vibe, bad.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, I assume, if I hear the civil defense sirens, I assume that the Zeros are closing in and Battleship Yamamoto is steaming under the Francis Scott Key Bridge,
would you like my drop of the Foster steam siren that goes on a World War II destroyer?
Sure, why not?
A Foster steam siren. This thing.
There you go. I like it.
Fantastic. You say Yamamoto? What? Like the pitcher, as opposed to Yamamoto, the battleship?
Yeah, the battleship is Yamato, but you're thinking of Isoroku Yamamoto, the admiral.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm
was
not a
thinking
World
of
War II guy.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is a baseball pitcher for the Dodgers. But yeah, sure. Either one. It's fine.
Thanks for exposing me as a Baka Ganjin,
I don't know what the fuck that means.
Gaijin.
Gaijin. I don't speak Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I don't know anything about Japan.
I know.
I mean, I don't either, and my Japanese is terrible, but
I know nothing.
Yeah, my like partner's partner speaks Japanese to like a sort of fluent level, so I like end up with a bit like through osmosis, I guess.
Sure.
So it was impossible to get in the tunnel to determine the extent or the location of the fire. One of the first indications of the location of the problem was when a 40-inch water main fractured underneath Lombard Street directly over the derailment.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Is this it here?
This is the main, yeah.
Fuck.
Here's a
okay.
guy and presumably a welder here for scale. Although this might also be some kind of Ingersoll Rand compressed air system. I have no
That's what
idea.
I was thinking it was, but yeah,
Yeah.
you know better than
Enjoying
I do.
the like shirt sleeves. You can.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see because of the resolution, but I know in my heart this man has a pocket protector.
Yeah, staring into the pit.
Again. I would have loved to have had higher resolution photos, but this is before we invented pixels.
Well, like as with Salang, I feel like tunnel fires by definition very poorly documented.
Yeah, not very good pictures. Yeah. So the 40-inch water main fractured under Lombard Street directly over the derailment. This cut off water and power and internet to downtown.
Not the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there
the
was also
2001 internet. You can't get on GeoCities anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I can't go post on something awful about this. Watch Mayor Martin O'Malley.
war.
I was going to say, watch Mayor Martin O'Malley start.
Yours was way funnier, and I stepped on it. I'm so sorry.
I thought Martin. I think Martin O'Malley was the mayor at this point. I'm not sure.
Martin O'Malley, you got a children's book ass name. You sound like the mailman in a town where everyone's a bear. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's commissioner of the Social Security Administration.
I got that from Twitter. It's just I have tweets in my head.
Oh, it's okay. We all have disorders.
I
spent yesterday doing a psychiatric evaluation, and the doctor was basically the least helpful psychiatrist I've ever had, and that's saying quite a fucking bit.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty broad spectrum.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've had some pretty useless ones, but she was just creme de la creme of why do you even have a fucking doctorate is my question. But yeah, Martin O'Malley. Yeah,
Martin O'Malley.
Yeah, he was elected mayor in '99 and was reelected in '04 and then became governor in '06.
Oh, there you go. So
why is he so smooth? Like I've googled him and his skin very, very like
poreless, right?
like like a real like serumed looking motherfucker. Like
is that retinol?
Bald horse.
Is that a
smooth
thing?
mare?
Do you not know about it? Like
I know about retinol, but I don't really know what it does. So I have a wife, right? I have this wife, and she does a skincare routine, but she explains it. It's that noise from
skincare routine is really simple.
Yeah.
What you want to do is you want to do twice a day. You want to do a cleanse. You want to like wash your face. Then you usually get like a cleanser and a toner combined.
I have one. I have a CR CeraVe.
Yeah, perfect.
I use it twice a day. That's kind of all I do, honestly. But
then what you want to do is you want to put a little bit of serum on as a kind of like pre-moisturizer. And then you want to moisturize, and you also want to like fairly regularly also be doing like a scrub as well. And that's a skincare routine.
I can barely shower once a day.
Attaboy. Yeah, depression manifests in many forms, and it fucking sucks.
I mean, in my case, it kind of turned out in a beneficial way, where like anxiety manifested in doing a very exacting skincare routine twice a day.
So
anyway, the water main.
Drop the skincare routine, Roz.
Yeah, having my skincare routine is having a 40-inch water main straight to the face.
I mean, you will be moist.
You will have
been fucking
I am
moisturized.
emerged from the goo.
You will be cleansed. You will be toned. You will be moisturized, and you will be scrubbed. Like. Try the Well, There's Your Problem skincare routine where we come to your house and open the water main.
We open a 40-inch water main into your face.
Yeah, doing like a kind of like very expensive like moisturizer bottle, but it's just full of like Baltimore City like municipal water.
Yeah.
Pretty good,
So-
actually.
One of the positive things about the water main breaking is that all that water went straight into the tunnel and did dampen down the fire a lot.
Oh yeah,
Done-
because
it done
fire
dampened
hates
it?
having a water main opened over it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's one of the key techniques of like defeating fire.
Yeah.
But now
This does not
downtown
apply
Baltimore
to Teslas.
No.
there's no water, there's no electricity, there's no internet. It's uninhabitable. And a fire is still burning. it burns-
Downtown Baltimore is uninhabitable.
Where am I supposed to post on something awful about this?
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to do the much more obvious joke about whenever anywhere is said to be uninhabitable, which is, and then the water main collapses, you know?
yeah.
Oh, sure. I'm bad
So-
at jokes, Nova. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's a cheap joke. It's hacky, you know. I don't even have anything against Baltimore.
I love Baltimore.
Yeah.
I've been
Baltimore's
so
good.
drunk in Baltimore. It's a great city. Attacking an underground fire.
So they don't figure
can
out
you
how
tell
to
me
get
where Saddam Hussein is in this?
Oh, yeah. It's probably like right about here. You know, that's Saddam Hussein.
That's a pretty good freehand Saddam Hussein, I'll be honest.
That's not that bad, actually.
Yeah.
So you have a problem of like, how do you actually extinguish this fire? Right? Once you figure out where it is, it's 1,000,000 miles from either entrance. You can't get the hoses in. You can barely get people in because you need like, a self-contained breathing apparatus. You need like it's a whole rigmarole to get any men or equipment in here to fight the fire, right? Eventually, they managed to find a manhole, a single manhole that gets you into the tunnel near the fire. Now, the fire...
Fuck that. Fuck going
Don't
down
like
a
that.
manhole
Don't
with like
like that.
breathing
Oh,
apparatus on.
no.
into the
no.
fire.
Yeah.
So, the
Oh, yeah,
fire has
smoke
been-
hoppers because they have to
it's
hop
been
from the end of
tamped.
the.
It's
Sorry.
been tamped down somewhat, but it's still burning quite hot. I mean, at the peak, this fire was estimated to be at, that whole tunnel was 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fuck my
Ooh.
ass, dude.
Yeah.
To seal it off, it's the fire's city now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Baltimore is big Centralia. Like, it's fine. It's over.
At 10:30 a.m. the following day, firefighters were finally able to gain access via the manhole at Lombard Street. The situation there was not great. There's 11 train cars on the ground. The fire has thoroughly consumed the tripropylene tank car. Adjacent to that car was a car full of hydrochloric acid, which was leaking.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
And then, and then there were cars full of wood and paper products, which were still burning.
Dope.
I'm more
So-
concerned about the hydrochloric acid. That's
The hydrochloric acid is a
Seems
big
bad.
issue because in order to go in there and fight the fire, they want to be able to drain that car or just not have hydrochloric acid there, right? So here's what they do. They do a pretty wild thing. The firefighters go down with a hose and they put it into the hydrochloric acid tank car. And then they pump the hydrochloric acid out of the car and into a tanker truck at the surface
That's
while the fire is still burning.
fucking crazy.
Jesus
Yes.
wept.
That's MacGyver shit. That's incredible. What?
Yes.
I mean, that's just amazing firefighting. Like,
Yeah.
not to like sort of like not as if I know anything about firefighting, but on the scale of firefighting where one end is Texas City all like jerking off onto it, and the other end is this, right? Because this is like it's inventive. It, I hope works. Like
It worked.
it's
It worked.
audacious.
It
Hell
worked
yeah.
perfectly. They got the whole thing. I mean, it took a long time to fill the tanker trucks because they needed several because the tank car is bigger than the tanker trucks, but it worked perfectly.
Amazing.
By 7 p.m. that day, the first truck was on its way, and then by then, it's only a couple more tanker trucks before they have the whole thing empty. They're also trying to do fire suppression this whole time, but they can't quite knock the fire entirely down. They're working in the tunnel. It's nasty. It's dark. It's smoky. You're working on again on oxygen, on compressed air because
Right.
Next to a hose full of hydrochloric acid.
yes, exactly. And so,
Situation
One thing-
bad.
Yeah.
but at some point, they've knocked down the fire to the extent that CSX decides, all right, can we pull some more of these cars out of the tunnel?
Sure.
So,
Oh my god, dude.
this is a high rail truck.
People try and invent these as like new modes of transport all the time. I saw one called a ferromobile, where they were like, you'll be able to like drive your regular ass car on train tracks for some reason, and we think this is going to be a business.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not? Cool.
So, if you can get the rest of the train out, that does reduce a lot of potential fuel for the fire. Also, you save the merchandise, you know, because I believe they also did wind up shipping the hydrochloric acid to the intended destination.
Well done, boys.
So, to do this, they need to get some guys in there, close the air hoses on the train cars, so that they can then release the brakes and bring everything out. Right? They just send a locomotive in there and pull the rest of the train out. So, with more breathing gear, 2 CSX guys, a guy from the Maryland Department of the Environment, and a contractor from the South Baltimore Industrial Mutual Aid System, which is just sort of this big consortium that all like the manufacturers in Baltimore have, where like if there's an emergency cleanup, we pool our resources. They all get in a high rail truck and they enter the tunnel from the north portal.
Fuck that. Drive this pickup truck into the
fire. Right.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Right. Okay, that's bold as hell.
So anyway, one of the guys panics and exhausts his air supply immediately, and they have to reverse out at high speed.
I mean, would you not? Like, you see that shit, you're like...
Yeah, big sweeping breaths. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You're not keeping up box breathing doing that shit.
That's gone poorly, yeah.
I mean, I guess a bunch of firefighters were keeping up box breathing doing this shit, but like, probably not the train guys. Or maybe it was the Department of the Environment guy. Or maybe it was the South Baltimore Industrial Mutual Aid guy. I don't know.
It was the South Baltimore Industrial Mutual Aid guy. No, I think the Department of the Environment guy also wound up being hospitalized.
Just for like vibes, or
I'm not sure. The sources that I had were, I assume it's just the CSX guys were tougher because of railroad.
Built different.
Exactly. So this was on day 3. They tried again later that day. By 4 a.m. on day 4, the cars that were not on fire had been removed from the tunnel.
Okay.
Which leaves the cars that were on fire.
Yeah, I mean, they've been in with this fucking high rail. And they've done the thing. And
they brought the cars out. They sent a locomotive in. They brought the cars out. I have no idea if the guys on the locomotive had breathing apparatus.
You probably have to.
You must, yeah.
Again, I'm so struck with, like, given how bulky all that shit is, how do you drive a truck or a locomotive, for that matter, wearing it?
It was actually, I know the Southern Pacific used to use it regularly for steam locomotives, actually.
Huh.
They would just give you an asbestos breathing helmet.
Okay.
Because of course it was asbestos,
safety.
Right?
Yeah, for safety. We've been mulling an asbestos episode at some point in the future, and that's gonna be a good time.
I'd love to talk about all the kinds of asbestos suits.
There's so many.
Yeah. Some people have like a latex or a leather fetish. I have an asbestos fetish. No, I don't.
I'm gonna vomit, bud. I'm gonna puke, and that'll be it.
Yeah. All right.
I crave death.
Anyway, so that left the cars that were on fire. Some of them were upright and still on the tracks. So what do you do about that?
You pull them out while they're on fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. I love this shit. This is precision railroading to me.
Yeah, like somewhere around day 6, firefighting efforts had contained the fire to a low smolder, and CSX just went in and pulled the still burning cars out of the tunnel so you could fight the fire in the open. You can see this boxcar smoking here.
As we learned from East Palestine, being on fire does not mean it's not good for like full track speed.
Yeah, exactly. Or like that train in London, Ontario. That was just on fire recently.
Being on fire is not like a failure condition that accepts you from being like movable.
Yeah, being
No,
on
you can
time.
do both.
Yeah. So, in total, this fire had shut down Baltimore for 5 days. Buses had to be rerouted, buildings were closed, roads were blocked, 3 Orioles home games were canceled.
Oh no.
Yeah, commuter trains were canceled. The MTA light rail was unusable for months. The whole inner harbor had been closed to boat traffic. The fire was finally declared extinguished a full 6 days after it had started.
Wow.
Woof.
Yeah. But no one died.
When did they get their internet back? That's the real question. When were citizens of Baltimore able to post again?
I think they got that back up online relatively quickly, but it was slower
Ugh.
because it was a big cable that got.
And unlike a water main, like bursting an internet cable over a fire doesn't do anything to the fire.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like there's all the packets come out and then it's sort of
Yeah, so internet traffic does count as
Yeah.
like a dry fire suppressant.
But everyone was relieved that the risk was over until
Yeah,
2
perfect.
weeks later.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Oh no.
A bunch of chemicals leaked into the sewers, and 2 weeks later, they exploded, and every manhole cover in the city flew 12 feet in the air.
Oh my god.
This is not a real city. This is not a serious place. You can't be having the fucking Looney Tunes. Did anyone die doing that? Like,
No.
I walk over a lot of manhole
Everyone was
covers.
fine. Everyone was fine. This is a Looney Tunes disaster.
Let this be a lesson to you. Like, don't walk over a manhole cover in case shit like this happens.
Something like this could happen at any moment. Yeah,
Anytime.
Anytime.
You would never,
especially if there's been a train fire in a tunnel downtown for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, look at them. They're fixing it.
Yeah, they're fixing the tunnel. So the tunnel held up surprisingly well despite this raging inferno for 6 days.
This is ultimate like 2001
I love-
fashion is to
I
wear
love-
the cargo shorts to the fire.
The thing you're
Yes.
taping. Yeah. I like repairing the tunnel, open parentheses, LOL, close parentheses.
Yes, that's in the notes.
Crew's
After they
dad
removed
jeans.
After they removed all the damaged cars, the track was repaired. Trains were back using the tunnel again on July 23rd, 2001. Good for full track speed. Send it.
Hell, yeah.
yeah.
It's a tunnel. It's not going anywhere, you know.
It's
so
not
it's got
going
a bunch
anywhere.
of chemical fumes in it, whatever.
Out of service for a grand total of 7 days. Despite an intense investigation, no cause for the derailment was ever determined.
Just don't know. Vibes.
We don't know.
Sad.
The NTSB has a lot of theories about what could have happened, including like bad rail car maintenance, or it just randomly climbed over the rail or something. We don't know what happened.
Bit flip. Mysterious act of God's love.
Yeah.
Sasquatch. Mothman.
Yes. Probably cryptid. This could be a cryptid type situation, but
100%. Like, if you're a cryptid and you like get under the wheels of the thing, you like might die in a way that's totally untraceable and like foul the like airline, and then the brake goes on. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, well, if the train derails, the airline snaps regardless. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe it could be anything, you know.
So the
maybe like Bin Laden determined to strike inside the United States was about this, you know.
Yeah.
9/11 was kind of the
blowing all the manhole
unexpected
covers.
joke bonus. Yeah.
So here's the thing, though, where you ask, all right, were there any kind of mitigation strategies put in? Was there any kind of improvement to anything after this to prevent it from happening again? It could have been much,
No.
much worse if it had been like a more explosive chemical. I believe one FRA administrator was like saying, well, if there had been an explosion, it would have shot out both ends of the tunnel like a bazooka. Did they improve anything? And the answer is no.
What? I mean, I wasn't expecting them to like
Stellar.
replace the tunnel because like the tunnel's fine, but like
That was one of the first ideas, was maybe we should replace the tunnel with something more
No,
modern.
shut up,
That
coward.
obviously did not happen. Here we are back in the train shed of Mount Royal Station. And you may notice, well, that's a tanker car on the ground and another tanker car on the ground behind it.
Yeah, this one
They-
seems to be in slightly higher resolution too.
Yes, because this is in 2018. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
They're just going to keep derailing trains here.
Going terrific.
So people made some noises about rerouting hazmat trains around Baltimore, but that would require building a new tunnel or a whole new railroad, and you just can't do that anymore, right?
Mhm.
No, not unless there's coal involved.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing here is essentially like this is a way in which Baltimore could have a second infrastructure crippling disaster at any time.
At any time, yes.
Anytime, baby.
Further
Isn't American
up the
infrastructure
line,
so cool?
further up the line in this direction, there's been a couple of infamous incidents recently where a bunch of retaining walls from the other part of the Baltimore Beltline collapsed. That was a few years ago. Almost took out some houses. And then I think some people's cars fell on the tracks.
Oh, jeez.
And then they managed to derail a freight train on the bridge right after this and drop a bunch of freight cars onto the Baltimore Trolley Museum.
I mean, at this rate, it's like a wonder that CSX didn't dump a train on top of the boat like that took out the
I was
bridge.
about to say we should look into whether CSX took out the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So CSX is currently in the process of enlarging this tunnel for double stack container cars and other large freight cars. And, with today's monster freight trains, which like to derail for no reason at all, it's never a better time for Baltimore disaster enthusiasts.
Two 250 car long trains, every car of which is full of car batteries and acid.
Yes.
Slamming into each other at full track speed.
Hell yeah.
Directly under downtown Baltimore.
Yes.
Cool. Well, something to look forward to, I guess.
Yes.
It's nice to know that we're never going to run out of subjects,
They'll never stop the Simpsons.
We will be going with similar diminishing quality returns into like season 45 of Well, There's Your Problem.
Exactly. We'll have to start reduxing old disasters.
With
Did you
no
want
notes.
to do that,
Yeah.
Silverbridge?
I mean, listen, I don't know that we really did Silverbridge justice because it was Liamless. And we were
exactly.
still figuring out what the deal was going to be, and we didn't know the
Right.
deal was going to include Liam. So, shit, maybe. Like,
yeah, that was before Liam muscled his way into the podcast.
That is what I did. And you're
to
welcome.
improve it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Liam
Nova.
he was indignant. He was like, "You started a podcast without me?"
And you two are still roommates at that point, so you had the like
Yeah.
welcome home
Yes.
cheater.
Yes. Yes.
No, I mean it's a pleasure, and like doing this is great, and I will look forward to doing it with you when Baltimore is destroyed by the
Consumed,
next one
yeah.
of these. Yeah. I got friends in Baltimore. I'll feel bad about it. But on the other hand, I do have an enemy in Baltimore, so I'll feel less bad about it. So these things, there's a
Understandable.
calculus happening here. You know?
Well, there you go. Yeah. So what did we learn?
Don't go to Baltimore, I guess.
Make the tank cars a bit better, maybe.
More rigid, maybe.
That is one of the things here. This is a newer DOT 113 tank car as opposed to the older DOT 111s, and they are a lot better in derailments than the old cars were.
We did learn something, sort of.
But that regulation was not changed in response to the Howard Street tunnel fire. That was from Lac Megantic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
this could happen to you. Not to be the voice of your anxiety disorder, but this could happen at any time. At any time.
Yep.
Yeah. Visit Baltimore while it still exists, folks.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, tick off all the stuff that like is going to be underwater in 20 years, see all the endangered species, and visit downtown Baltimore.
Yeah,
And
you
then
can
go
see
to
the
Flint Hills,
City
aquarium.
in
baby.
Baltimore County.
Yeah, go see the aquarium. You can go to B&O Railroad Museum. You can go to the Trolley Museum if they haven't dumped a train on it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, CSX can dump a train on any of these things at any moment.
Yes, at any moment, CSX can and will dump a train onto you and your family. The train will crash through your house.
Yeah,
Even if you're like 20 miles from the railroad.
There's a anti-train cartoon, like a newspaper cartoon about this, where like a train busts through the wall of like a family eating breakfast, like as a kind of like
You deserve nothing.
steam train monster. And I've long thought that this was like the correct attitude to take, except to think that this is cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty funny. I mean, there's a Thomas the Tank Engine about that. But that's another story. Yeah. Well, we have a segment on this podcast called Safety Third.
Shake hands with danger.
Hello, November and the rest.
Not wrong.
Oh, perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Yeah.
we have our priorities in order, I see.
Long-time first-timer mechanical engineer here with the story of how I survived getting hit in the chest with a frying angle grinder.
Oh, that's way worse than
No thanks.
and most other kinds of angle grinders.
Yeah. Also, English is not my native language, so I apologize for any typos or misspellings
now
or wrong uses of phrases.
Well,
I
I just like the idea of a frying angle grinder. I think I'm like
2 in 1.
Yeah, exactly. It's two. I can like make some hash browns with it.
Hey, when I have to like re-season my angle grinder, but I also now feel bad for this joke.
Yeah.
So I apologize, particularly since you like emphasized my name, which is the correct thing to do.
So this story takes place 2 years ago when I got hired to work on a recall for some Yutong passenger buses.
Largest bus manufacturer in the world, no less.
Oh, the ZK6129 tourist bus that could carry a maximum of 50 people.
I have a disparaging remark to make about like Chinese automotive engineering. They don't name them. They don't know how to name them. Like they gotta like name them. There's a lot of names you could use, but instead they have the like kind of post-Soviet communist thing of being like, oh, this is the beloved like YK6129. It's like you gotta give it a name, please.
Yeah, it's gotta have a name. Yeah, a name would be nice. The problem with this bus was that the supports for the back suspension were faulty and needed to be replaced. This job involved opening the last 2 exterior doors between the rear axle where the battery is restored. That's this here. Then you have to cut a square out of the back panels to get to the support that needed replacing. That's this square here.
Oh, that's beautiful engineering to be like, just like cut through this, please.
This is surprisingly common on like, transit vehicles and stuff like that. It's like, well, when this part needs to be replaced, you do need a full metal shop to do it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So replacing the supports was relatively simple. First, we lifted the back axle to release the tension on the supports, then made them drop, which is the important bit. Then we unscrewed 2 massive bolts at the bottom that held in the wheel. You fight with your whole ass against the 14 1-inch screws that hold the support, and then slice the top part of the 1/2-inch thick steel plate support with an angle grinder to finally drop them.
I will be real with you. That does not sound relatively simple to me. That sounds like a pain in my ass.
That does sound like a pain in the ass. I mean, it's like, the procedure is simple, but, you can't access anything, right?
Anything that involves like 14 screws, particularly, like I'm not considering that simple.
Yeah, that's annoying. Then I put in side by side with the new supports and cut off at the same height so they would fit in the same position, screw them into place, then resolder both the support and the interior panel walls to hide my work. Right? So you got to put the plate back in place. And it all in all would usually take me a full day of work to do one bus with almost an hour to spare. Now, you might be thinking that this doesn't sound too hard to do, which is actually that's actually the opposite of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, whoever wrote this, I think you work too hard. I think you need to like reevaluate your attitude to your work in favor of more laziness, because like I don't consider this relatively simple.
That's because the pictures I sent you guys are from the right side of the bus, which has a much larger compartment than the left side because the right side is where the batteries are stored. The left side was barely half the size of the right side, so barely enough for one person to sit, let alone stand. And
so
also operating
space.
Yeah. And also operating the angle grinder on the right side was easier because the place you stand to operate the grind meant you could hold it in a position where it pulled away from you rather than towards you. Now, as earlier, I mentioned how we lifted the back axle to release the tension on the supports. This was a trick I learned a few weeks into the project, but had not mastered until after this accident.
Oh boy.
Oh, Jesus.
Because what happened is I was cutting the support, and just as I sliced through the last portion of it, I hadn't lifted up at the proper height and the angle to release the tension, and instead the support fell on itself and completely squashing. Let's go with squashing there. This is a new and interesting word, actually. I might start using it. The blade in the angle grinder and causing it to fly off of my hands, crash into the metal wall a few feet in front of me, bounce back, and hit me square in the chest.
Oh, ow.
Jesus.
Do not do yourself like the fucking circular saw blade zombies in Ravenholm, dude.
Oh,
ow.
yes.
Now, thankfully, the same motion that caused the blade to get stuck also broke it. So when the angle grinder flew back at me, it was already disarmed, and all the damage it did was some nasty bruises, which was something I realized a good 30 seconds after I fell out of the bus screaming like a little girl when I suddenly remembered.
Right there with you, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Suddenly remembered I needed to breathe and proceeded to do a quick check for any missing body parts. So there was nothing beyond a bruised ego and some light bullying from my coworkers for my high-pitched scream that apparently the entire shop heard before running to check on me.
This is the thing. You can't do anything in these situations. You fell into the vat of hydrochloric acid, but you made kind of a funny noise as you did it. You know, you got kicked off a horse, but it was kind of funny to watch.
Yep. You're gonna get a nickname from that one.
Dangerous injuries, often funny, is the terrifying thing.
So remember, kids, always make sure the angle grinder is spinning away from you, and always wear as much protection as you can.
I'm going to go a step further than that and protect myself by not doing relatively simple automotive repair jobs like this for a living, if I can possibly help it.
Yeah. Thanks for all the work you do. You keep me entertained on my now soulless but less dangerous job of spare parts supply distribution. Love, Diego from Central South America. South America? I'm not sure.
Central South America is Chile, I guess.
It's got a,
we don't
but
know
that's
anything.
also Central South America and Central North South America.
I mean ultimately South America is Antarctica. So maybe this guy's doing the buses on South Georgia.
It could be Chile and Argentina, they cover a lot of that.
That's true. Yeah. Long Chile.
Yes.
Thank you, Diego, for
you, Diego,
me by name and no one else. Please try to remain safe in spare part supply distribution. You shouldn't get any circular saw blades coming at you, but CSX can drop a hazmat train on you at any time.
At any time, yes.
At any time.
Anytime.
All right, I realize I may have done these next two slides out of order, so I'll just do this. That was safety third.
Shake hands with danger.
Our next episode is on Chernobyl. Does anyone have any commercials before we go?
I know for a fact that you do.
I do have a commercial, yes. So come to Space Melt Cinema presents Airplane with Justin Rosniak of Well, There's Your Problem. That's the podcast you're listening to right now. Essentially, it's going to be a thing where we go to a place and we all watch. I talk a bit, and then we watch the movie Airplane. Space Melt Cinema is, just we get a big screen and people watch movies that are fun to watch together.
Doing podcast comedy about movies, never going to catch on.
Well, no. Yeah, I was wondering if anyone had ever done that before. If they had,
don't think so. No.
Talked about movies on a podcast. It might be a good idea. This is May 4th at the Ukrainian Club.
Slava Ukraini.
Exactly. If you have contrarian takes about the war, if I can shut up about them, so can you.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
Yeah, doors are at $8. Tickets are $17, but closer to $20 with the fees. I didn't set the price.
It's a really good movie, and
Yeah, it's
you're
a good
really
movie.
funny. So like, I can guarantee this is going to be a good evening.
Oh yeah.
Yes, exactly. And we will have custom hot dogs.
Mm.
Exciting.
Yeah. We have a hot dog roller that we're bringing. That it's gonna be a good time. And there's beers. Don't worry.
Alluring.
Yeah. So yeah, May the 4th. Come to the Ukrainian Club.
Check this shit out. May the 4th be with you.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
Like in Star Wars.
It's like in Star Wars.
It's like in Star Wars.
That's the airplane sequel, though.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Also pretty good, surprisingly.
I only watched it once. I don't think I liked it.
I like
Maybe I have to watch it again.
Actually, I'm not going to make that claim because I haven't seen it since I was a kid. So, like,
Yeah.
It's good. I think.
Yeah. All right. Oh, and it does have an intermission, so you can use the restroom.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
hold it.
Hold it.
Yeah.
I also have a bit of an ad, which is donate money to Lutheran Settlement House. We need it. We're doing our big fundraiser. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. Put that link in the description.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right.
Always donate money to Palestine, to Palestinians, buy eSIMs, all of the rest of it.
Yes.
Protest vociferously at every opportunity.
Yes.
Yep.
But watch out for CSX crashing a train through your protest.
It can happen at any time.
It could happen at any
to
moment.
you.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
We good.
That's a podcast.
All right.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.